June 12th, 2021. Over 50 House Democrats flee to Washington, D.C. in a last-ditch effort to prevent restrictive voting legislation from being passed. Now, Texas Republicans are issuing threats requesting their return.
As soon as they come back in the state of Texas, they will be arrested. They will be cabined inside the Texas Capitol until they get their job done.
How did we get here? The Texas House Democrats are doing what's called breaking quorum. A quorum is the minimum number of members required to do business in a legislative council. In this case, quorum in the Texas House is 2/3, or 100 of the 150 House representatives. By getting at least 51 of the 150 House representatives to not show up, the Texas House Democrats are breaking that quorum, meaning they are making sure that the Texas House cannot conduct business because there are not enough members present. The Texas House Democrats intend to delay the passing of restrictive voting legislation until the end of a special session called by Governor Abbott on August 6th. At the start of this video, I showed Texas Governor Gregg Abbott calling for the arrest of the Texas House representatives involved in breaking quorum.
As soon as they come back in the state of Texas, they will be arrested.
Can he really order their arrest? Sort of. Let me explain. Although the governor does not have the power to order them to be arrested, the Texas House does. The remaining members can vote to order a call to the House, which allows law enforcement to track down missing representatives, arrest them, and bring them back to the Capitol. However, this is not an arrest in the traditional sense, where the arrestees spend time in jail. Instead, it simply allows law enforcement to force the representatives to come to the Capitol. Additionally, it allows the doors to the House chamber to be locked, prohibiting any present representatives from leaving. However, a call to the House by the Texas House only applies to Texas law enforcement. Since members of the House fled to Washington, D.C., Texas law enforcement lacks the jurisdiction to take the members into custody. So, until the representatives return to Texas, they shouldn't have too much to worry about. So, why are the Texas House Democrats going through all this trouble? After all, many of the members are leaving behind their families and lives, at least until August 6th, which isn't for another 3 weeks. On July 8th, Governor Abbott called a special session to pass various bills, including Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 3. If passed, these bills would enact various measures designed to make voting more difficult. HB 3, or House Bill 3, creates a state jail felony offense for a public official who knowingly solicits the submission of an application to vote by mail from a person who did not request an application, or distributes an application to vote by mail to a person who did not request the application. This means that election officials could no longer offer applications to vote by mail without facing a state jail felony, an offense that carries between half a year and 2 years of jail time, as well as fines reaching up to $10,000. HB 3 also revises the conduct constituting the offense for unlawfully obstructing a poll watcher, to include knowingly preventing such observation of an activity or procedure by taking any action to obstruct the view of a poll watcher or distance the poll watcher from the activity or procedure to be observed in a manner that would make observation not reasonably effective. This means that a voter could be arrested for an act as innocent as moving away from a poll watcher or obstructing their view. Other measures within HB 3 and SB 1 go on to ban drive-through voting, limit voting hours, and require a driver's license or the last 4 digits of a social security number on mail-in ballots. Legislation designed to make voting more difficult has a long history in the United States. Following the passing of the 15th Amendment, Jim Crow laws were passed, which, although they did not explicitly prohibit Black Americans from voting, they did in practice. For example, in Mississippi, voters were required to complete a literacy test to submit their ballot. In a time when few Black Americans could read, but most white Americans could, this law greatly limited the power of the Black vote. The Texas Democrats argue, like Jim Crow laws, actions within the Senate and House bills such as making voting by mail more difficult, restricting voting hours, and creating the fear of being arrested at polling places would disproportionately affect minorities, people with disabilities, and people with lower incomes. Effectively, these bills would immorally reduce the power of voting groups that typically vote for Democrats, violating the right to vote and increasing the Republican Party's influence within Texas and U.S. politics. Nobody really knows what will happen next. The Texas House Democrats are meeting with various officials in Washington, D.C., including most recently, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Our administration, President Biden and myself and our administration, are here to make very clear that we will do everything in our power as an administration to lift up the voices of those who seek to preserve the right of the people to vote.
They are pushing for federal voting protections to prevent legislation designed to discriminate against specific groups of voters. The Texas House Democrats will have to remain outside of Texas until August 6th. Otherwise, they may be arrested and forced to return to the Capitol. Come August 6th, the governor may call another special session, which would cause further political turmoil.
I can and I will continue to call special session after special session after special session all the way up until election next year.
For now, all we can do is wait and see. If this video has helped you understand the Texas situation better, then be sure to hit the like button. If you want to see how the situation continues to evolve, subscribe for my next video.